previously on Gears.
A magnificent weekend, and well, I've got to say, one of the greatest Grand Prix that we've had in a long time. And to come and discuss everything Formula One, it's the one and only, the man who called so many things that happened this past weekend, the one and only Mr. Vic Maharaj.
How's it, guys?
How's it, Vikesh?
Yeah, it was an excellent Grand Prix, wasn't it?
It was something out of this world. It really was special. Hopefully you did stay up to watch it, because it was relatively late, 9 through until, we finished just after 11:30 last night. But Vic, the first question I've got to say, what has McLaren done to lose Lewis Hamilton?
I think we've actually talked about it at length on numerous race weekends. He's been fantastic this year. He hasn't done anything wrong that I can imagine for the last couple of races. It's really been McLaren who's lost the championship for him. He's been dynamite at Abu Dhabi. He was superb yesterday. Probably one of the best drives I've ever seen Lewis Hamilton do. I think if the man wanted another £5 million, whatever he wanted, Ron Dennis, Martin Whitmore should have just paid him. Because if you look at the signings that they have, Jenson Button, Sergio Perez, are they team leaders? Are they the guys who can take McLaren forward? Are they the guys who can win a world championship? I'm not sure. You know, obviously Jenson has won a championship, but in a car that was a little bit more equal than others in 2009. So you've got to say that they're losing more than they're gaining.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis Hamilton, on the flip side, Lewis Hamilton must also be sitting there and saying, is it worth having moved to Mercedes for the extra £10 million or whatever it is? Because if you look at that car from China, where it won a race with Nico Rosberg, up until now, it is the most disappointing car on the grid.
I think we remarked yesterday, I think Michael Schumacher was, fifth on the grid or so, and he proceeded to work his way quite well backwards all the way to about 14th or 15th position. Was the only car that really did a two-stop strategy when we said the tyres were going to last the entire race. Yeah. And they obviously had huge problems. Michael Schumacher felt that the tyre didn't work. They ran both cars in different specifications. So it shows to me that the team is not quite sure why they won in China, why they've gone backwards. So they're trying to understand things, and I certainly hope for Lewis's case that by the time he gets there, they're on top of these situations, because they've essentially designed next year's car already. Now it's a matter of putting everything into production and then hoping that when he gets there, it is fast enough to try and win the championship. And you know the thing as well, Sasha, it won a race, but your development curve has got to be very high. You've got to be able to maintain this car over the season, and they haven't looked like they've been able to do that.
Yeah, it's been very sad for Mercedes Benz. You know, in 20 years of watching Michael Schumacher race and listening to him after the numerous victories he had, or the seconds or the thirds or defeats and that kind of stuff, yesterday was the first time ever where when I read his comments after the race, Vic, I sat there and I went, this is a man who is defeated. This is a man who's sitting and saying, actually, we don't have a clue what is going on.
I don't think he's defeated as a man. I think he's got talent. He's outqualified Nico Rosberg this year. I think he's just tired of maybe all the excuses or the upgrades that are supposed to be working and are not working. Maybe for the first time, I think Michael Schumacher's happy to be retiring. He's happy to be leaving Formula One. Maybe not on the high note that we all wanted him to do.
Yeah.
He should have won a race or two. Granted, a lot of unreliability this year. He hasn't been the Michael of old, sure. But at the end of the day, I think he's looking forward to retirement this time, and let's hope that he enjoys it more than he did the first time.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. This coming weekend, of course, the last race for Michael Schumacher. Let's get back to yesterday. I've got to say, compliments to the organisers, to the crowd, and the Americans, how they embraced Formula One. Vic, when they raced in Indy, we didn't see this kind of passion, this kind of enthusiasm from a crowd. And I think Formula One has definitely found its spiritual home in the US.
Yeah, I think by the time when we started the weekend, we were all trying to assess, will this be the home of Formula One in the United States? And I think after this weekend, it's a resounding yes. Over about 300,000 people went through the turnstiles. It was amazing on a Friday to see 65,000 people in the stands. It looked packed. The people looked like they embraced Formula One. They were passionate about what happened. Lots of reports of people who never saw Formula One ever before and have left the circuit sort of been totally now become Formula One fans. And I think that's what you want, spreading the word of Formula One, and really what a race to entrench that in the hearts of US fans.
Well, I mean, it's also incredible because we were a little bit concerned that Pirelli's tyre choice was going to be too conservative. We found there was no degradation. We thought, oh my word, somebody's just going to run away with it in the front. And you know, we're going to have Monaco 6-7 years ago, Alonso doing 77 laps on one set of tyres. But incredibly, even though the tyres were most probably conservative on the whole part, it turned out to be a spectacular race and incredible strategy.
It was incredible. I think a lot of things that we were not sure of, how the tyres were actually going to play out. Could the guys follow in Sector 1 and then pass on the main straight? Everything worked out perfectly well. It was just amazing to watch Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel ply their trade. I think it was the best I've seen those two drive in ages. Vettel wanted the World Championship. Lewis Hamilton wanted the win after the disappointment of the last Grand Prix. They worked well together. It was just interesting as well as to time the pit stops, because when did the tyres heat up? It was just really interesting permutations. But in the end, I think the rightful guy won the race. Sebastian Vettel leading the World Championship. The Ferrari just didn't look to be at all there. They did a great strategy. I mean, it was your fault that the gear ratios were changed.
Yeah, of course it's my fault. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Fernando did all he could do. So those three drivers, a lot of people said it's the first time they've been on the podium together. It's just amazing to think that, if that's actual fact. But those three guys, in my opinion, did brilliant races. Alonso outperformed his machinery yet again, but the two guys at the front were in a league of their own. They were 40 seconds ahead of Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, I mean, that was an extraordinary result. Let's just go through Jean-Eric Vergne, another suspension failure. Toro Rosso got to look out for that. And from the disappointments, this is where it gets very intriguing, because we've got one race left. Mark Webber, he has a KERS failure, then all of a sudden the car stops, and they say it's the alternator yet again, Vic, which is the new spec alternator which they have to use. There's got to be a couple of question marks going into this coming Sunday with Sebastian Vettel.
Well, Christian Horner and Adrian Newey have come out and said they're really worried about it. What the engine supplier Renault has come out and said, they've tried different types of or levels of parts in the other cars, obviously Lotus, etc., with no real issues at this moment. It's just that Red Bull don't want to deviate from what's worked so far, but obviously it didn't work this weekend for Mark, and I think they're going to have to make a decision, and it's going to be a very risky decision. Do they sort of err on the side and say we'll give Vettel what we've known has worked up to now, or do we trust Renault and say that we're going to give them the newer spec level, which Renault is confident works, but 3 times this year there's been reliability failures, and most of the times it's been with Red Bull.
This is my other point as well, reliability. The race yesterday between Hamilton and Vettel was 56 laps of qualifying pace. Whether the tyres were warm, if they weren't, the fuel levels high, they really, really drove an outstanding race, the two of them. The one thing for Vettel, he's pushed that Red Bull extremely hard. Alonso, on the other hand, is probably, once Webber fell out, just drove to maintain, make sure that nobody could pass him and maintain and get the third position. He's most probably got a slightly fresher engine and fresher car coming into the last race.
It will be. Obviously, I think what we've seen this year, transmission problems has been the biggest thing. Gearboxes, can they last, etc. Interlagos, it's very high altitude, lots of stress on gearbox, bumpy, hard braking, long straight. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how that pans itself out. I'm hoping that, from what I see, is that I can't see that Red Bull will take too many risks. If there's a problem, they'll rather risk changing Sebastian Vettel's gearbox and probably changing gear ratios if they find that there's some sort of an issue. Likewise with Alonso. The one good thing is for these two guys is that because of the altitude of the race, they don't stress the engines out as much as they do at sea level. So I wouldn't think engines are going to be a huge problem, but those could be famous last words as well. So I think the great thing about it is that we're waiting in suspense after what we've got this week, what happened last weekend, for this weekend's Grand Prix to come up.
Well, and also Interlagos, the weather can change quite amazingly. Let's just talk about Hamilton and Vettel. Vettel, I wouldn't say was in control, but he was leading from the front, seemed to be maintaining the gap. But as we've seen in the last 5 or 6 races, Vic, Red Bull have adopted a slightly different strategy in terms of their setup, a little bit more downforce, so a little bit less speed on the straight. And whether or not Carthagena played a role in the overtaking, because of back markers or whatever, you knew Lewis was eventually going to have a go.
Absolutely. I think what we saw the whole race, I think from the time they changed to the prime tire, the harder of the two compounds, Lewis every lap was just getting a little bit closer, edging a bit. Vettel was quite good in coming out of the hairpins, lots of good traction, made a little bit of a gap, but Lewis was edging all the way closer, and we all remarked and said, he's putting pressure on Vettel. When is Vettel going to crack, if that was the case? It just happened that the back marker aided that the chance for Lewis, and he took it straight away.
Yeah.
He would have set up a grandstand finish if it transpired that they were racing nose to tail. But the great thing about it was once Lewis passed, he was able to pull that gap and then maintain that same 1 second gap so that Vettel couldn't really attack him. And looking at what had happened on Friday free practice, we did not even expect that at all concerning looking at the advantage that Red Bull did have.
Well, that was it. On Friday, I mean, for those who maybe don't remember, Red Bull had a 1.4 second gap over everybody else. And, you can read whatever you want into it. The timesheets don't lie. And 1.4 seconds to eventually a Hamilton victory is quite extraordinary. I must say, well done also to Vettel, because once he was passed from Hamilton and threw his toys out the cot a little bit with his team radio, he did push, and he pushed as hard as he could. He didn't give up. He didn't sit there and go, okay, well, I'll just take the second place. He pushed all the way until the end.
Well, I think he did it because, a lot of guys were not sure how Lewis's tyres were going to last. Lewis's tyres are a little bit older than Sebastian Vettel's, so maybe Vettel pushed to see reliability. We know the McLaren has been fragile of late, to see what sort of tyres, braking issues maybe. But in the end, it was great to see these two guys pushing so hard. It was, as you said, the single lap pace was unbelievable. They did that for the entire race without making huge errors. I mean, I can't remember when last we've seen that. They were following each other through the very fast corners under hard braking, didn't put a foot wrong. I mean, I was astounded yesterday.
Yeah, it really was, and a magnificent circuit, Vic. We got to compliment it as well. They've really built something quite special, overtaking areas where a lot of people didn't really think, but sort of the double left-hander where Button made a few of his passes. Just shows the drivers, if they're really thinking, they know they can make opportunities.
Well, maybe Herman Tilke's finally got it right. He's basically copied
he's had 13 years to do it.
Yeah, he has, and he's copied all the best parts of all the circuits we've seen. It looked pretty good. I think the real theory that we were not sure of was how cars could follow in Sector 1. We saw it quite resoundingly. Guys were passing each other in Sector 1. You saw Kimi Raikkonen, Alonso, Massa, and then you saw Hamilton was able to hound Vettel in Sector 1, then being able to effect the pass down the long straight. So everything has led itself and laid the foundations for a great history of US Formula 1 Grand Prix into the future. And what was quite interesting, a lot of guys tweeted yesterday after the race, that's how you do a Formula 1 race. And I say, that's amazing for their very, very first Grand Prix to have organized it so perfectly, for the town and for the city to embrace it like it has. It was just amazing.
Yeah, it really was something special. Quick points going forward. Of course, final race of the season, can't believe it. Brazil, Interlagos. We know Red Bull's going to be very, very quick. This is a race that Fernando Alonso has to go out and he's got to win.
I think Ferrari has to do that. Whatever they've got to do, they've got to do, turn the engine up, give him everything that they possibly can give him. Because you know that if they give him a car capable of winning the race, he probably will win the race. He doesn't make too many errors. He always makes sure he makes it to the end of the race, scores the points. And it's amazing that the role is reversed slightly now. We knew that Alonso had to finish higher than fourth to keep the championship alive. Now Vettel has to finish higher than fourth to win the championship. So I think that's going to be a very interesting permutation. I'm just not so sure whether Ferrari has the fastest car to be able to win the race. The McLaren looks dynamite at the moment, and it could very well be that Lewis signs off his career at McLaren with a race win.
Yeah, very much so. Well, there we go, Vic. I'm sure we'll talk to you later on in the week as well, especially about Interlagos. We'll find out what the weather's going to do. But got to say, great for Formula One to be back in the USA, and a great advert for the sport.
It was a fantastic advert, and it was a brilliant race, well organized, great facility. I think we're just looking forward to next year's Grand Prix.
Yeah, and looking forward to being in the stands, I think, next year.
That's the one to do.
That'll be.
Me too.
Yes, you've got to come along as well, Daisy. There we go, Vic Maharaj with his perfect view of yesterday's USA Circuit of the Americas Grand Prix.
At the next intersection, turn on
Gears with Sasha Martinengo.
weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African
American time.